I'm excited to have this conversation with His Excellency Helal Almarri, and I'm going to ask His Excellency a set of questions related to different areas of climate change and how it links to Dubai's strategy. When Dubai launched its economic strategy called D33 earlier this year, that was a big moment, and I know we spoke a little bit about it before as you got ready. Could you unpack this for us and tell us a little bit about the vision and the aspiration?
So first of all, thank you, and yes, it's a pleasure to be here. And earlier this year, we announced Dubai's 2033 strategy. That strategy really looked at where will Dubai sit in 2033 from an economic perspective, and really looking at how will Dubai sit as a city versus the other leading cities in the world, with the aspiration to be one of the top 3 cities, and the aspiration to double the size of the economy. Now, that can't happen without looking at this very important topic of sustainability and the environment, and how we create a model for sustainable economic development. The strategy itself really stemmed on a number of pillars. Firstly, key sectors such as logistics, manufacturing and finance and tourism and others. Secondly, infrastructure. And thirdly, government and the link of government and the private sector. What is very important to note is, as we look at sustainability within those pillars, we think of it along 3 areas. The first is the infrastructure. So how can the government create the infrastructure to really ensure that we deliver on the 2050 carbon neutral goals, and to ensure we're very inclusive with that plan. Small examples are, as you're looking to change behavior, you need to, for example, build, cycling tracks for the population. So over 540 kilometers of cycling tracks were built. We need to look at, how people interact with nature, and, large swathes of land were put into nature reserves, and rules of regulation around that. But this behavioral side is really what we've been focusing on, to look at how we could get the whole society engaged and in this efforts that are happening, and we've been very successful in making sure that people are changing behavior. We have a very high degree of recycling. We also have the highest solar energy per capita than anywhere in the world. So these types of things really make a big difference. The third area is obviously innovation, and to create the right environment and the right regulation to allow innovation within these sectors of clean tech, envirotech, agritech, and the areas that really produce the solutions for the futures for businesses. This is where we're focused, and I think it's a mixture of the investment side and the regulation side, and that's also going very well. But definitely, as you look across the sectors in D33, it's not about is Dubai growing in manufacturing. It's about, can Dubai do that and ensure that these manufacturing facilities are carbon neutral. So the way we look at it is in a more practical way, to say it's not a separate initiative, or it's not something that is being done in silo. It's being done as the core initiative across the economy, and that's really what's going to get us there faster than anyone else. Amazing.
I think also the scale and the scale of the ambition and the speed is also something that is something inspiring. If we talk a little bit about sustainability, I think you covered this already, but post COP28, this is the COP of rate of change, the COP of actions. What are some of the things that you're going to embed in the priorities of the city going forward, and the type of results you would like to see?
So if you start off by looking at the investment side, so the UAE has committed to carbon neutral by 2050. There's been very clear targets which have been put in place. For example, by 2030, $54 billion, and so you're in a place where first of all, you have, as I mentioned earlier, the right governance to allow investment in decarbonization. That governance it stems from very effective decision making across the regulation, but it also allows what we heard earlier from some of the speakers is it allows the private sector to move beyond pilots and concepts to actually implementing solutions in the economy, and what that does is it gives them the platform for rolling this out internationally. We also have a very strong PPP model. So, some of the things I mentioned earlier, like solar and others, we have, it's been working extremely well. And that PPP model is really what we think will drive these initiatives going forward. And then, all of this is sort of underpinned by a track record of delivery. So it's also the softer side. So if you look at the softer side, what's important to note is that, the sort of positive energy that really looks at anything as possible really means that it builds a very high degree of confidence in the private sector that they will achieve these goals, they will achieve the right level of implementation at speed. And that speed of implementation is something Dubai is known for, and is something that definitely works very well for this type of initiative.
One of the topics you mentioned is it's nature and biodiversity, and to some extent, we as a firm have been also passionate about the importance of not only carbon but net nature positive, and I know we heard it at the beginning of the session today. There's a real history here in the region, but say a bit more also about the project that you've undertaken there.
Yeah, so I think, as a background I see some people in the room who are not from the UAE, but as a background, most people from the UAE, they're either very passionate about the sea or the desert or both. And, myself, it's the sea. So, we do have a portion of the population that they are fishermen. And their livelihoods are very important for us to take into consideration, as we think about the eco-biodiversity of the marine, and as we think about how we protect that for generations to come. Dubai does things, as I mentioned, in very practical ways, and working very closely with the Fishermen's Association, and thinking about how can we really protect the marine environment and ensure the marine environment flourishes through the generations. A little more context, Dubai has never had, or the UAE has never had, commercial fishing in the sense of, trawlers and other things. They've always had a great governance, which has been put in place, and that governance has been strengthened all the time. So in thinking about that and thinking about how we can also, build an ecosystem that also supports some of Dubai's other pillars, such as tourism, and the generally we have obviously over 10% of the economy comes from tourism. We thought what could work, and we worked with some of the best minds globally to look at coral restoration and how to bring how to rebuild the coral environment, and to ensure that makes a difference. And we were lucky enough to come across some very accomplished people in the field, and run a number of pilots with the Fishermen's Association, and those pilots all went really well. So today we're announcing the creation of a 600 square kilometer reef. This stretches from the border of Dubai north and south, so from Sharjah to Abu Dhabi. There is over 400,000 cubic meters of reef being created. This, based on pilots, gives us an estimate of 8x for the marine life. It also looks at sustainable fishing continuing for the fishermen whose livelihood it is, and we expect them to be able to do much better than they are today because of the increase in marine life. Obviously, from a tourism perspective and marine tourism, it works hand in hand with that. And and I'm pleased to say, so just to unpack it a bit more, for those of you who aren't familiar, these are modules which are created, over 20,000 modules, which are basically strategically put at the right depths with the right currents, and it's all master planned based on the topography, of the seabed. The good news is, we soft launched this a year ago with the government putting in, 10% of the funding, and we've been very lucky so far to have already commitments of over 50%. We're really excited about this project. Personally, obviously, it's very close to my heart, but I know that the Fishermen's Association and also other partners like Dubai Chamber, have worked very hard with the private sector to see how this project can be a game changer for Dubai. One thing that I wanted to sort of talk to the international audience about is that it's not the project in itself that we see as the game changer for the world. We have done a lot of research now on blue carbon and the maturity of that market, and we believe through technology and through the sensors and through the academic institutions and other partners that we've managed to bring together, and we are bringing together, we welcome anybody to the table, because of the sheer scale of this and the repetitive nature over the next 4 years where we'll complete the whole thing, we will be able to prove through this project the carbon, the type of carbon that would be able to be credits annually, and we see early estimates show that's around the equivalent of 1.5 million cars a year, and so the significance is very high, and so what we would hope is that this successful model makes it very bankable for other communities around the world. And we hope that all the different initiatives to protect the marine environment can participate in this, as a learning exercise, because one thing we're sure of is we will implement this very fast, and we will implement it, and we will allow all of the technology needed, sensors and other things, to be able to measure everything. So, we're confident that, we're confident from the pilot that this could be a huge success, and we hope that others would be able to benefit from it. I don't know whether, if it was clear what I said, because I'm talking about it, if there's any other details.
Well, but Your Excellency, one question, it sounds like it's also going to be a great model for the PPP setup. In other words, some public capital, private capital, potentially philanthropy.
Yeah.
Say a little bit more. How
no,
could
definitely.
That,
So the way we saw it is that, our role is to prove the model. So we definitely had to put in the first 10% and the first part of the project, which we got commitment for from the government. Then we went to, obviously, companies that are close to Dubai, and they're doing a lot of work, in the marine area. Of course, they all have their own plans for how they want to decarbonize, and they all have their own plans for what they need to do for the marine. So they saw this as a great project to be involved with from a scientific perspective, and also from, a sort of CSR perspective, giving back to Dubai. So we got commitment there. We obviously couldn't talk to too many companies because it was still confidential, and we were launching it today. But we're kind of opening it up now, and we're, obviously, even just being here for today, we've had many conversations with people who are very interested. I think the key is that the technology exists, the expertise, around the marine biodiversity exists, and the challenges so far has been the small scale these initiatives have been done at, and I think doing it at a very large scale definitely gives us an opportunity to unequivocally prove the positive impact, not just from a marine biodiversity, which we're very confident of because all pilots have shown that, but also from a carbon perspective. And that's what we want to try to do. And I think that there is, the models we heard earlier, PPPP model. I think there's a lot of people who want to participate in that, and again, we're also looking for participation in kind. So, when it comes to shipping companies, others, they've all been very forthcoming for helping to sort of make this happen quicker and make it a reality. So hopefully, and at the end of this, I would say that I'll leave you all with a video which the team has put together just to illustrate a little bit about what we're doing, so that hopefully that will play as we walk off the stage, so people will be able to see visually, what this is about. But ultimately, 600 square kilometers, 400,000 cubic meters, more than 20,000, reefs, a real partnership so far between the public and private sector and scientific institutions, I think will prove that we have the ability to not just govern, but also replenish our marine environment.
And so Dubai, almost a hub of a blue carbon, almost ecosystem that you're going to build here.
This is what we hope, but the hope in our mind is that people can quite should get a toolkit from this. It should be easy for people to replicate this abroad. We've talked to a lot of countries who really want to do this, but they're unable to get the capital as yet. And we think that if we can prove the sort of circular nature of this, and we can prove, if you think marine biodiversity, carbon, fishermen's livelihoods, tourism, really working together, I think that there's going to be a lot of funding available, and if this can be rolled out, many of the key places that have been affected by global warming and other things, I truly believe that it's a game changer for the world.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm losing my voice, but...
it's okay, you lasted for the...
Exactly, lasted for the questions, but thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thanks
you very much. Thank you.
In 2024, Dubai's commitment to environmental action takes shape with the landmark Dubai Reef project. Spanning more than 600 square kilometers, an area equivalent to over 85,000 football fields. The city will create over 400,000 cubic meters of reefs through the implementation of more than 20,000 reef modules. The project aims for an 8-fold rise in fish and biomass population within the next 10 years. It'll catalyze 7 million tons of carbon capture per annum, equal to 1.5 million cars. Dubai Reef's impact will resonate through generations, serving as proof of the infinite possibilities when humanity works hand in hand with nature.